Your Destiny podcast. I'm really excited for today. I have been waiting for this moment for more than a little bit, but the universe has its ways and things happen exactly at the moment that they are supposed to happen. I have with me today Tamara Perron, Perron, Tara Perron, Tamara Perron. I'll get it right because that subconscious conditioning of the way you always say things always wants to come out. Um, I just love her. She is iconic. She is avant-garde. She has been in business for a very long time, and she's been from the brick and mortar space. She has helped people build their businesses, and now she has gone into this luxury space with legacy and agency. And she works with people to just really embody in using energetics and tantra and all of her magical, mystical ways to assist people in embodying and expressing just this full on authenticity that is unique to each and every one of us, this authenticity that we are born with, that no one can take away from us, but gets domesticated out of us from the way that we're born with all the subconscious conditioning. So, we're going to go to all of these places: authenticity, integrity, legacy, the industry, how we can show up more potently, more authentically, and more responsibly, because she and I both have had some interesting experiences in the business space, the business coaching space. Not that we're going to be calling anyone out, but she and I both have our own containers now because she's made a shift in her business where we're working with people to help them avoid the pitfalls of getting sold into something that is not the right fit for them. Tamara, I'm glad to have you. Please elaborate a little bit more for everyone about your background. What was your journey from your beginnings in massage to where you are now?
Thank you so much, Penny, for such an eloquent entrance into your magical world. I just love you to bits as well. We've had such an incredible opportunity to connect and find each other on this vast, platform here. And really, my journey has been entrepreneurial driven since I was born. I kind of joke in and around about. I have been in business and had an entrepreneurial streak really since I was around 9. I've been making money on my own terms, and a lot of inspiration has come from me. But from books, really, is the truth be told. For me, being able to dream, being able to just feel like your soul is free and you're not underneath the thumbs of some organization or some other individual that wants you to play out your life the way that makes the best sense for them. So I think that that's kind of the feeling that every entrepreneur embodies, wanting to be able to do things on your own terms. And so, really, my brick and mortar businesses were holistic clinics, multidisciplinary clinics. I had upwards of 17 different practitioners at a time. That flowed into opening up a studio of internal arts. And so a variety of different self-awareness and internal arts practices in conjunction with a variety of different holistic practitioners. And I had a very thriving practice. Alongside that also doubled with an incredible amount of learning in terms of tech and business on the side as well, marketing, branding, all of these different things. So I had a previous history in sales and marketing, and that greatly lent to what I stepped into. Always a strategic footing alongside of my practice. So I seemed to kind of swim in both worlds. But as I had my businesses, the highlight was doing just that, operating in my practice, extending myself to other individuals. And eventually that started turning into a lot of the community seeking out my help in terms of business and marketing and sales and advertising and that type of thing. So one thing led to the other. And 20 years later, this is where I stand. I stand in this amazing opportunity to really be, I would say, I moved into a space where I'm completely location optional, if that's a desire for myself. by utilizing online. Um, but I've chosen to really step into also doing in-person as well projects, because I feel that our heart is needing that as well in this space. So it's beautiful to be able to experience both. And right now, I think that one of the key things that's really motivating for me is the subjects that we're talking about, because a lot of us have had a variety of different experiences online. And before we came live here, we were just speaking to one of the words here that Penny shared, integrity. And what does integrity really look like? And we're talking about leadership and responsibility. And as leaders in this sphere, it is our responsibility when we see things going astray, or we perhaps make mistakes, or we're charting territory as pioneers and frontliners, and we see that something isn't necessarily as responsible as it could be. It's our due diligence to go back and take ownership and chart, a more favorable course, and one that is going to lead people to better places.
I think that's really important in integrity, not just in leadership, integrity in selling, integrity in qualifying people to be in your space, not selling someone something for the sake of selling, but selling because you know you can help that particular person, and then actually delivering on the back end. And, this has been something that I've had to grow into. I was an employee for most of my life, and growing into this model of delivery and what it takes, and coming to this place where it's like, okay, I'm tired of one-on-one. I'm ready to scale. I'm not tired of it. Let me rephrase that. I love my one-on-one. My one-on-one lights my soul on fire. But I'm tired of that being the primary source of income. You cannot scale that. And legacy is important to me. I already know how I want to impact and shift and change the world, as do most of our clients. But that piece of integrity, to not put something out there and then for the foundation to collapse underneath the weight of it, is
Yeah.
important. And so right now I'm heavily investing before I'm seeing any return on that investment, to make sure that that is in place. And I think a lot of people fall into this trap of, I see it in newbie entrepreneur groups, and I don't like the word newbie either, but those fresh into entrepreneurship without the ability to know what they don't know, being sold, $20,000 months in 6 weeks. Well, in my experience, to build the foundations of the essential pillars of marketing and content and sales and delivery, that's a stretch
Mm-hmm.
to do
Yeah.
that in 6 weeks. What is your take on that? Because I've seen this shift in your offers recently, your video work, which I really want to dive into. It is potent, it is beautiful, it speaks to the soul. But you're now opening up agency to people who haven't reached that rung of the ladder yet.
Yeah. Thank you. I have. And that's kind of like, there's a variety of different purposes that we're all here for. And I think that one of the really unhealthy things that I've seen come to light over the last couple of years is a huge strenuous, force. And I don't mean force in like force of nature in the great way. I mean force in terms of pressuring individuals to conform to having to push themselves to make their purpose all in this streamlined, highest ticket, most expensive, thing in the world that they possibly can. And it's not aligned with where people are at in their mission or their journey. And just like you said, um, taking the time to set up the foundation properly. And sorry if you heard all that screaming, that was outside. I don't know what was just happening. I was trying to stay concentrated.
We live real life here. I'm on a farm. If you hear the rooster crow, just let it take you
I was
deeper,
like, is
relax.
there like a what is going on out there? Anyhow, align myself again. Individuals have been stepping into spaces that they have been sold. Like you said, people are being sold into things that they're not being properly onboarded into. It's not the best fit for them. It's not the right option. They're not at the space where they're ready to enter these things. There is this shiny object on the internet where everybody wants to charge the most, scale the fastest, do the big bang. Like you said, like these 6-week crazy intense, goals that people have. This is not for us to negate that it does happen. People do achieve these types of things. It's not impossible. And the people that often make these offers did have some exemplary situation where they experienced some kind of burst in their own momentum. And now they think that it's systematizable to take absolutely anyone from the internet that has a desire to achieve this and to offer a program and for people to be able to replicate the results. There's so many different factors. We both know that as entrepreneurs and both working in those subconscious realms. The average individual isn't going to be able to step into something like this and reach those huge milestones in such short periods of time. And not only that, there is a trauma happening in our circles that I've been speaking to a lot in my offers, because people step in, they watch a few people have rapid success, and then they actually have now been sold on a dream, and they experience a cognitive dissonance, a dissociative manner of working and walking in the world. They have invested huge sums of money. They've jeopardized potential relationships in their life, not to mention their own personal relationship with self, on a limb of taking such a massive leap of faith. And now they're stuck in this limbo of feeling shamed that they're not charging enough if they don't charge ultra high ticket, shamed if they don't make the giant leap to, being able to sell at extraordinary high levels, and ashamed that they can't manage the overwhelm of trying to wear all of the different hats. And so one of the huge caveats is programs are incredible for the right fit. And so this is not to shame programs. This is not to shame the leaders that have had the immaculate success, that have the desire to bring that to other individuals. This is about that integral responsibility of coming back to the space and understand who we're inviting in, what their background is, what their capacity, what support they have, what resources they have to pull this all together, and give them an honest evaluation as to whether or not this is the proper space for them to be investing in to get to where their next levels of success could be, from our own knowing. We don't know everything, but we do have a due diligence and a responsibility to be more honest. And that's just not happening in this space. And there's a lot of fall off. And although I am charging and am in high ticket in terms of agency, my heart and my purpose with my peers and colleagues and all these incredible souls that are offering amazing things is I can step in and I can help bring some groundedness to the reality that they're experiencing, and help stop the feeling of gaslighting and recenter and reclaim the greatness that they are in, which is really what you're awakening to, right? You're helping them tap into all of that, and just kind of go from there. Take it a bit slower. Let's get the foundations right. Let's take away the shame from any amount of money that you're charging. Build, that awareness and confidence, and just do it in a better way.
Yeah, when it comes to that high ticket, ultra high ticket, it's about an energy, it's about a vibration, and it requires a lot of inner work. And I'm at really high ticket now. I would venture to say probably premium ticket for my 8 week one-on-one, but I didn't get there overnight. I didn't just decide this is what I'm going to charge. I've had to learn to qualify who comes into that space so I can deliver that specific result to those people. And over the last couple of years, I really learned to filter out people who weren't appropriate for that, even if I needed a client signed at that point for cash flow in my business. And I was always rewarded. The universe rewarded me for being in integrity and doing the right thing. So this is where I really want to go next, if you're ready to pivot a little bit.
Let's pivot.
So you have just restarted your social channels because you have been uber restricted. And it's just that risque, that sensuality, I think, that comes across in your videos, which I absolutely love. It just taps into that energy within us, that dance of the feminine and the masculine. But you made a comment about how amazing it felt to be in this space. Apparently, you made a video that had an image or a clip of a $70,000 flogger in it. And no, we're not going to start talking about sex here, but they picked you up. They found you on your new account on social and followed you. And this is the level at which you're, to use your words, you're inviting people to play now, to really step into that expression. What does that feel like, and how did you reach that level for you personally?
This is where it's just so energetic. And this is where it really defies any logic, but it actually only came from the practicality of being consistent in a grounded sense. So if that mouthful makes sense to individuals, I got here because come, heck or high water, I just keep going. I kept going. I kept being consistent so I'm very avant-garde, I'm very sensual, I'm very creative. I have this business side of me, but the huge desire for me, like the business side of me feels more like that was literally dropped in from the divine to help other individuals that are creative outside the box to play, in these realms because we deserve to. Like, I'm tired of the starving artist. I'm tired of that cliche. And really, if you look at a business like we're talking about with the $70,000 flogger, this appealed to me because I love to push the edges of contagion, and I love to be able to stand in the face of supreme judgment and fully own the fact that there is something in each of those individuals judging me that's just daring to allow themselves to have such bold and brave permission, because I know it's inside each and every one of us. And this company, for example, I was looking at creating a film and I thought, well, what is the Dior of sensuality? Where are these people? What is this company? And that's when I found a $70,000 gold embossed flogger on the internet. And then I found the brand and I thought, wow, the detail, the nuance, the permission that this company has. And it was so sleek, so refined, so alluring, so mystical. And I was like, I just love this so much. I would love to work with this company. I would love to create for them. And our publicist inside agency said, well, that's something that we'll reach out to them and we'll work something out. And that kind of got put on the back burner. And recently all my certain aspects of my accounts got disabled. And I pulled upon the energy of knowing I can build fast. And that's what we're going to do. And inside that warp of energy, this company decided to, follow me. And I felt like a kid in a candy shop. because I get geeked out on, I do this with all my clients. Anybody that comes to work with me, I'm like, yes, I liked you for so long. You know, it's never an accident. I totally have like brand crushes or like soul crushes of people that I want to be in my world and co-create with. And this is where I believe this is energy, you know, like it's not an accident. You know, there's a power beyond us and there's things beyond us. And when we align ourselves, and like Penny said, when we go into a space where we maybe need a client or we need some type of resources, but we don't walk out of integrity and we stay aligned to our path and being the force that we are, these incredible experiences start happening to us. I know for you as well, you know, recently you've had some just really magical things happening.
Yeah, it's almost as if I'm going through a second quantum leap in maybe the last 8 months. And a lot of people think a quantum leap is magical, and it is magical, but it happens from the inside out. It's about deconstructing these paradigms that have formed our model of reality, the constructs of society that we're told that we have to fit into. And, that's what I meant about moving into that ultra high ticket space. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to be aligned to it and be in vibration with it to attract it. And I mean, for heaven's sakes, I was in Hollywood 2 weeks ago taking a picture with is it Batgirl, Catwoman? Anyway, Alicia Silverstone. I forget which role she played. My husband was the one that pointed it out. I remember her from The Crush, but he's like, oh my God, But being in that room and being in a place energetically and vibrationally where from a grounded place, you belong in that room, you know?
Yeah.
And, to walk up to Sarah Gilbert and it's like, oh, cool, that's Sarah Gilbert. Hi, how are you? I'm Penny. And she shook my hand. And, the fangirling isn't there. A year ago, I would have just been slobbering all over myself. Let's be completely honest here, but it takes practice in moving into that space and having that knowing, that groundedness that you belong. And I mean, there's so much more expansion available to me, but there's so much more expansion available to all of us. So
Mhm.
when you're working with these luxe clients
Mhm.
and you're creating video for
Mhm.
them, can you share a little behind the scenes of how you draw out that true desire?
Mhm. So typically, those that have come in and become clients for my more signature, I call them heirloom brand videos. They aren't in my world just overnight. They don't see me for one night and decide they're coming into work. It is a process that is started on my socials. And my posts and the way that I work with individuals is very intentional. And there's a lot of work happening before people step foot in the doors with me. And I'm a very polarizing, almost triggering type of person to sign on the dotted line with because I'm so bold online. It's so, outside of the box of traditional agency that I know that it takes another bold, permissive person to actually be willing to play with me because at the higher echelons, let's say, the luxury end, individuals that typically are skirting those waters have a huge identity already. And that identity says my success has come to this space because of all of the things that I've done and protecting, my reputation. And the huge catalyst for individuals wanting and desiring to work with me is stepping into that shadow aspect and wanting to actually explore that sensuality, that mystery, even though that is not often how that's going to be represented in people's brand videos at all. So people don't need to be afraid of that. None of my clients' brand videos look anything like my my videos. And so that's why it takes so long, typically 6 months to 12 months of my clients watching my work and getting comfortable with even approaching me, or even saying, I'll be identified with being identified with her doing this. And it turns from initially being a little bit afraid to like loving who I am. And it just kind of throws everything else out in terms of those fears, and really gives a space to step in. So the first initiation is even being willing to be associated with me, because I'm a bit of a wild, avant-garde individual online, as grounded as I am. So I would say that's the beginning process. Then we really start unpacking life and all of the different corners of my clients. And we look at what the vision is ongoing, where the innovation is, because my clients in particular are innovators. They're future sphere leaders, and they're here to do things that other individuals are not doing yet, typically, or not at the scale, or not at the boldness that they're doing. And we really take our time. I feel like it's a lot of expansion in the ideation of what the video could look like, and co-creating and going back and forth, focusing on visuals, tones, textures, what type of permeation we want for the audience, what we want to hit immediately, what that's going to feel like. And then it really is a process of a few months of what I call, I'm going to go a little weird here, the Bardo, because I believe that people intersect with me in their life at a time where they're going through a massive transition or transformation. And it's like literally going from one life to the next. And so I am a space holder in that time being of people moving from one identity to the next. And I wouldn't say that I work like you do, Penny, in terms of actually shape shifting the identity. I seem to just be the witness of the shape shifting and have the capacity to trust what the next version of the individual is. And I see that. So I see that before people fully step into that. So I'm an excellent pillar of really trusting that messy process as people kind of, dishevel, allow all of the fears, all of the shadows, all of everything that has held them in that previous identity, and the greatness. Let's honor the incredible assets that everyone has had that's brought them to that space of success, and just really hold you until you trust you're ready to make the swing. And when you swing, it's to me, this is where it's beyond. And that's why I call them transmissions also, because you're really transmitting your consciousness and a new elevated space of stepping into for your audience. And it's an impregnation. It's a very powerful thing. So I take it super seriously. And it feels like a vocation more than it feels like just a video. And a lot of this is the future. The way that I edit, the way that these visuals are coming to life, this is something now that I've already been working on for a couple of years. And a lot of these techniques you're just starting to see now. So I truly believe that this is such an incredible space to capture visionaries. And it looks very different with each individual, but it's very much embracive of creativity, shadows, and visionary aspects.
Yeah. Over the last year, it hasn't been intentional, but then subconsciously, yes, it has been intentional. I am attracting women who do know there's something bigger, there's something better. It's on the other side of what they don't know. And meeting people at different places. So you talked about the messy, right? It is messy going through this transition, these fears. We have to face that part of us that we no longer want to sit with. so that we can come through to the other side. And I think sometimes that's why some people can be a little off put. I have had people who watch me for a long time. I've had other people that, because of a referral, they're like, if this person says that's what I need, I'm here. Let's do it. And we never know what's there under the surface. We never know what's there to be deconstructed. And depending on where you want to go, it looks different. Some people need to move through trauma, grief, emotions that they've had trapped before they can even realize the version of themselves to step into this identity that is going to take them to the next step. And then there are other people who have processed through that and they're like, I'm here, I'm ready. I don't want my ego getting in the way. I still feel like I'm not being fully myself. And I want you to help me. I want you to help me do that. I want to be unleashed. I want to be unfuckwithable. I want to be unabashedly me. I want to own who and what I am. And it just lights me on fire to do it the same way that your video work lights you on fire. So I'm going to turn this back on you for a moment. What is the one question that no one ever asked you about your work that you would really love to expand on?
Wow. I think you make me feel like almost crying and then almost not answering at the same time, because it's like I guess it's not an I guess. The truth is, it's so, despite these fields of expansiveness and beyond that we're so open to, there's been so much also, I'd say it almost feels like botchery of the divine or the beyond as well, in terms of things being sold and oversold, that I've downplayed the fact that the way I walk first in the world is always from the divine, from the mystery. And that's where this comes from. People, people are allured, they're hypnotized, but nobody really asks me where this stuff comes from. And since I was a child, I've seen beyond, I've seen the future, I've seen visions. I'm a very tapped in type of person when it comes to, that which I think most people have access to, but most people have denied themselves access to or don't believe in accessing. And it's actually been most of my life to try and ground and get back to a space where I work a little bit more in the world and seem a little bit more grounded. So I guess it would be lovely for people to trust and understand that what I'm creating from is coming through me. I'm not doing anything. I'm a conduit of something that wants to be shown and seen. And I trust that and I allow it. And oftentimes I'm 17 hours, 25 hours straight, creating these pieces, 100 hours, 200 hours. And I don't sleep. I don't move. It's a transmission for me too. And depending on the audience, that could be a bit weird to speak about, but thank you for asking.
I don't think it's weird at all. Because my clients will ask me, how did you know to say that? So, I go into trance with my clients. My framework is expansionology, and it's the fusion of the conscious, the subconscious, and consciousness. And the only barrier between us and our consciousness are these subconscious frameworks. And when we become consciously aware, we begin to peel those things back and lean into our intuition and to know when it's our soul that's speaking to us, we can begin to follow those divine messages that we all get. Now, I had a friend once tell me, I'm going to digress a little bit, when I first had my toes dipped into energy and spirituality, I took a Reiki class out of curiosity. I had never experienced it, but my patients in the OR who had Reiki, they took less pain medicine. I'm like, what the heck is this, right? And, so I was learning about energy, and I'm out in the garden one day weeding. We lived in Connecticut, and I love to just get out and play in the dirt and the flowers. And it was a hypnotic state. It was a meditation. It was a communication with all that is. I know that now. I did not then. And I hear this voice loud and clear. And it says, pluck the weeds out of your life. And I just simply sat there for a moment. I'm like, who is this? And it's like, Michael, the angel Michael. And I was like, oh, okay. I just went on about my business. I shared it with a friend, and she told me that that had to be Satan because angels would never speak to someone like me. Like God would never speak to a common man. And here in the South, that is a pervasive belief that we're not worthy. And I challenge that. I'm like, no, it even says it in the Bible. If you follow the Bible, we're created righteous in the name of God. It is our choices that are the problem, not us. It's not our souls. And we have to be forgiving of ourselves. We have to release judgment of ourselves if we're ever going to get to a point where we love ourselves and we fully accept ourselves and step into this owning of our essence. Because behind every desire to hide, behind every comfort zone of playing small, there is something that we fear. There is something that we've told ourselves that we must hold back. It's not meant for us, right? Maybe we're not good enough. What will people think? Fear of judgment, whatever it may be. And your comment, your answer about the 17 hours, the 25 hours, the 100, the 200 hours, I remember reading that in one of your posts, and I thought, my God, she's going to burn out. And then I thought, no, she's not. It's divine transmission, because you know who else worked like that? And his entire team had to surround him. Well, Elon Musk is one now, but that's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about one of the most famous artists of all time, and that is Prince.
Oh,
He would go into his studio, call
yeah.
his team in, and they would be awake for days on end as he was writing and composing.
Yeah. I mess myself up the most when I get afraid of that. And that's how I actually I ruin my process a lot because of the fears of the way that the world works. And when I step aside, and that's one of my big things that I'm learning is I've given the world maybe 5% of my truth at this point, and I'm getting braver as time persists. And I'm just so grateful for you asking that question, because it's the permission I extend everyone else. And I feel like as my clients grow and as those in my world do, I do as well. So it doesn't feel like this, thing. I just feel like it's at this point in time in my life, I have this feeling and knowing that every single soul that's in my life is so intentional, and that we're all here like making this masterpiece. And there's this divine trust inside that this is a co-creative process. And I get to also shed outside of the conforms that I've been really conditioned into. And that's the cool thing in human design. You're a manifesting generator, I'm a generator, but we're supposed to do what like energizes us and turns us on and lights us up. And the truth is, yes, when I'm doing this type of work, time doesn't exist. It doesn't matter to me, and it doesn't do anything negative to me. It's when I start looping and I start getting afraid. Oh my gosh, you didn't go to sleep for 2 days. You better now be messed up and broken and all the things that the world would suppose you would be from doing this. And so I think you're hitting the nail on the head for something that's really probably powerful, not just for me, but others in our audience as well, that might work in different ways.
Definitely. And I'm amazed that you remember I'm a manifesting generator. We had that conversation a very, a very long time ago, but understanding, I don't believe in labels. Labels put us in a box.
Yeah.
If you identify as a divorced woman or a solopreneur, like we have these definitions that then limit our ability to envision ourselves on the other side of it. But when I did my human design, I learned something about myself. It is in my nature to experiment. I grew up my entire life hearing, Penny, you don't finish anything that you start, but it describes me to a T. I will dive into something, and when I dive into it, I'm going all the way in. So I've had to learn to pause. Like, it's why I never learned to play golf with my husband, because I would probably be over it in about 6 weeks. And then I would have thousands of dollars of gear that would never get used again. So I recognized that about myself before I learned my human design. But I tend to dive into things, I get what I need, and then I'm done.
Hmm.
I get what I need, and then I'm done. And I heard these stories my whole life that, I'm like, well, I do finish things. I have a master's degree. I have a certificate in nurse anesthesia. I wrote a #1 international best-selling book, right? I do finish things, but it's the things that fulfill me and light me up. I've learned I can't guilt myself for the things that aren't aligned, because when we're doing something, you were talking about your creative process, when we step out of that alignment, when our choices, we don't become aligned, our choices, our thoughts, our beliefs fall out of alignment, that 3D-ness falls
Hmm.
out of alignment with the cosmic aspect of the self. That's where we get the friction. That's where things start going sideways. Now, all of my clients aren't spiritual in that respect, but I do introduce the idea that it's about following you, your energy, your path. I saw your whole energy. What just happened?
I just love it. For me, I think it's just so powerful that we live in a time where likely souls like ours in our childhood, we were just pushed in such a different narrative, and we get to lead spaces where all that old programming hogwash, you actually
Yeah.
do get to lead with you. You do get to be you. You get to undo all this other crap, and you get to
Yep.
experience who you were meant to be. And oh my gosh, like, to me, that brings tears. That brings the sweetness, like the nectar of life. People are suffering so much, and that was the cornerstone to getting into this work for me, to find that there's other more expansive ways to do it with greater resources and have a deeper capacity to impact on a larger level without struggling. All of these things can come together. And so, as you were just saying that, I just had this little moment where I was like, it's crazy. Like, we're here. We're here
Yeah.
in those, books of freedom that I read as a child, wishing I was in those books and not this weird construct, systems, and we're changing them.
Yeah. You knew even then
Yeah.
there was something
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
You knew even then. So share with everyone different ways that they could work with you, connect with you.
So I would say that the invitation is really, you want to work with me, and I just invite you to ask how that could look, because it really is different for each individual. And as much as I try and put out things like offers, I really struggle with any consistency around that either, because they are never formed or shaped for very long. Because I usually have a particular soul that I'm crafting something for, and they're in my periphery, and I use that languaging to invite you in. So if you think I'm speaking to you, I probably am. And when I feel that you've come in, then the words change. And so, but on a practical level, I have an agency. So there's a variety of us that are done with and for you. So if you find yourself investing in a lot of high tier programs and those types of things, but you're still feeling really overwhelmed, like you've got too many hats, and you want help with content creation, and you want help with like expansive permission, to hit that next echelon in terms of your branding and what you're standing for in your business, on a level that's being built out for you. So this isn't so much about, like, of course, I'm here to be available for the space holding and the energetic stuff, but I'm more of a witness and a pillar of strength that sees where you're going. And I'm going to stay here and I'm going to hold you accountable until you get there, because I see it and you know it. So there's no point in running from it anymore. You've tried already for a lot of years. So I'm here as that, like, it's going to happen. We're going to materialize it into the world. So for visionaries that have something a little extra that you need help building it, we do fully produced podcasts, we do press, avant-garde events, merchandising, stylizing. You've seen my own personal stuff potentially, or will, which is video. We have a ghost suite, which we're launching. So if you already have a big corporation or you have a big entity in terms of your business and you want to elevate the content and what's there behind the scenes, we actually don't do ghost writing. Well, we do, but that's not our focus. We are doing ghost production. So if you want elevated courses and things like that created for your brand, and then also in terms of strategy and mentorship with myself. So say you're not ready to invest in agency, but you want some hand holding, you want some divine intervention in terms of mentorship, I'm available for that as well. And that can look very practical in terms of accountability and steps and actions. And I use my business background as well as energetic. And that's really the space that's been shining in my socials lately, and what you'll see me speaking to more probably in another couple weeks. You'll be slammed with all the agency stuff, but for right now, the doors have really seemed to be called to, working with peers and those that want that one-on-one.
That's beautiful. Everyone, we will be making sure that the links are available to you to follow Tamara over on Instagram, here on Facebook. Do you have a YouTube channel, or are you on Vimeo?
So I'm on Vimeo. We will be launching our actual production YouTube channel shortly. So if you're following me on any of my other socials, you'll get access to that in the near future.
Fantastic. I absolutely love it. Thank you for this conversation. I've absolutely enjoyed it, and I believe that it's going to resonate with those, obviously, that it's meant to, but I think it's also going to pull back the curtain just a little bit for those who did not know that there was a side to them that wants to step into this authenticity. Everyone have a beautiful, wonderful weekend. Be sure to go over to YouTube, subscribe to @PennyChason Official. That's where the video episodes of the podcast live, or you can subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Design your destiny. I will see you all next week. Thanks for sticking around with us. Bye now.
Thank you so much.